More developing news tonight. Breaking news now. Breaking news.
Our top headlines.
The Agenda with Ari Rabin-Havt.
We're back here on The Agenda. SiriusXM Progress 127. I want to welcome Mornay Walters, a privacy and security expert and CEO of Seecrypt, a mobile app that provides privacy for phone conversations through encryption for phones and text messages. Mornay, welcome to The Agenda.
Very good morning to you, Ari.
How does Seecrypt work? Why would I use it?
Ari, let's put it in basics. The Internet was never designed as a security platform, and social media and all the conversations and the applications that we have to communicate today has removed us from a security platform. And what we have done is essentially create an application that allow you to communicate with someone else in a various ways of cryptology and security. Now, ultimately, what we do, it's very simple. We allow you to install the software onto your phone, but we took away the difficulty and the complexity associated with cryptology and security. And what we do is when you install the application, you simply, the system itself generates an enormous random set of private and public keys on your phone, and then so you have a private contact database that you can communicate. Very simply, when you send a message or you make a call to your contact, and it could be anywhere in the world, every time you make a call, we basically make a call with a different key. Now, basically what this allows you to do is every time you send a message or every time you make a call, there's a different set of keys that travel with your private message across the Internet to the other side, and the other party who has a part of the key can decrypt the call and read it for you.
So do they need to be using,
in a nutshell.
Do they need to be using your software as well, so both parties need to be?
That's correct. So
okay.
We have and you basically download it for free. And from there, depending on the feature set that you want, from a consumer to a professional to an enterprise or a government user, there's obviously feature sets that cost different price points.
Why did you build this app?
Very simply, my past involved securing the communications for military and government users many years ago. And we've always been approached by the industry to say that it is not just those that is in certain powers that need security. What about businesses? What about people that travel overseas? And a couple of years ago, we made a decision to take the knowledge that we've learned for creating such secure communications for federal and government users and bring it to mainstream enterprise users. In Easter weekend of last year, we launched our very first application, and as you know, basically 2 months later, the revelations came out as of last week, a year ago, with Snowden. And it catapulted basically the idea, because it was quite difficult before Snowden came out, to convince security people or enterprise users that to become risk aware and that there is issues with communications over it. Now, and that is really why we started the application. You know, when you go and you do an online banking and you log on to your bank, the bank has educated us as users to make sure that it's a secure site. PayPal has done a brilliant job, and the rest of the world, to educate people that when you shop online with eBay or wherever, that you have to be on a secure site and that the transactions has to be encrypted. And that when
do you actually think people are educated about that, or do you actually think people understand the privacy and security risk they face on the Internet?
I think some people are starting to wake up and understand it, but there are a lot of people that will say this, well, I don't care what people do, and I don't care what people, what I say. I don't care about it. But let's think for a second about two categories here. Let's think of our children that is growing up and do silly things out there. And when they become older and they might run for a professional job, their past could suddenly haunt them because the digital footprint that is left on the Internet is there forever. The second category is our elderly people in the industry. They never grew up with computers. They didn't have the powerful tools that we have today in their hands when they were in their 40s and their 50s. And I specifically refer to, like, my father as an example. A man of 75, he's got an enormously powerful phone in his hand, but he didn't have a computer. And he doesn't understand all these things, and we find this a lot. So you're quite correct by saying that people do not understand it, and it is the mission of all of us to educate in time the people about security. The banks have been trying to do that for 20 years. Now it is about all our information. It's not just about my banking information or my IRS information or my health information, but it's a communication that I send as a business person from one user, perhaps in a colleague in another country. That information is as sensitive as perhaps private information like banks.
Were you surprised, I should say, by the Snowden revelations?
Personally, I was not surprised. Because we knew it. It was more of a kind of, to some of our colleagues and customers, was a kind of, I told you so. It did help a lot by explaining to people that it come through. A lot of people live in a false sense of security and in a false sense of establishment, where they believe that if I want to have a secure communication or a secure conversation, what do? I just go outside on a balcony and I go and have a chat. And it's always a laugh because people around you might not listen to you, but there's something else. But it's not about our conversations always. It's not about just the text messages. It is how we treat ourselves in a public internet. Because today, the internet is just like a media square or a public square. And as we behave ourselves in appropriate manners, we will understand that no matter what we do on the internet, we'll stay there. But there's days that we want to be private, and it is no right for people to invade us in a privacy like that, no matter who they are, if it's governments or private organizations.
Now, speaking of Snowden, let's talk about metadata for a second. You call it the new oil. What do you mean by that?
So metadata itself is an enormous amount of powerful information. I can construct, and with a team of deep or big data analytics, we can construct patterns. We can construct who you are, where you've been, what you like, what you don't like. And the old saying is, he who controls the information is king, is relevant here. People's information is about building trends. A lot of information is captured, a lot of information is gathered, and then harvested for reports and sold to either marketing companies and distinct information. So it will come to a point where I could actually walk into a supermarket, and the supermarket could recognize me by facial recognition and say, Mornay has walked through the door, he likes chocolate donuts, let's give him a special, or something like that. It can literally go to that point. There is cases in mind that people can know exactly where I am, where I've been, and what's my favorite trends. And at the same time, depending on how the information is used for good, for bad, or for nefarious acts, it depends on it, because we can understand the trends. So if you've been in a diplomatic situation where you know that there's a security detail around someone, based on the information of other people that follow that detail, people could easily create context of scenarios of a trend of how a person goes to work every day, this is his route, and so forth. And as this information becomes more and more available around the world, so it becomes easier and easier to do it and to create trends. And in the beginning, it's fun and it's funny. It says, I've been there. Ultimately, later, you realize that everybody knows where you've been and what you've done. And that is the danger itself in metadata.
So if you were advising the U.S. government on what would you advise them at this point?
Well, so firstly, I have my opinion about metadata is two things. One, I've called it in a presentation I did for TEDx, a toxic dump or nuclear toxic dump. That is metadata. Why? Because the management of metadata is not controlled by the government. It's not just the government that controls the data. It is the laws and information about our private data. So a bank will not divulge your information to anyone without explicit information. But why can your information of other sorts of private information, perhaps if you have transactions, or other things. Certain information is just being handed out and sold. So the regulations around private data of consumers needs to be protected by the U.S. government. And in fact around the world, because if you travel to another country, that transactions that happened could be shared equally. And I think there's the control of the information. The banks is a very good example. The medical industry is a very good example. You won't find the medical client confidential privilege information just being shared like that. So why is it okay for us to just share our social information like that?
Now, if the U.S. government came to Seecrypt and said, "You have to give us the key to your system," what would you guys do?
The short answer is I don't have a key. Seecrypt was designed in such a way that the keys are generated on your phone, Ravi, and on your contact's phone. There is no keys here at Seecrypt. When you make a call, the keys sit with you and you exchange the information. Anything that transverses through our own network is completely 100% encrypted. We can't even decrypt it. We don't keep the metadata. There is no information that we've kept here. We are a law-abiding company. We follow the laws of South Africa where we are based. But we can only tell certain things to when there is a request to us. But there is no information we can give outside the fact that perhaps you have an account, but people can make certain accounts these days that mean nothing. What we are trying to do is simply say, you have the right to privacy, you have to use the tool, or you can use the tool in your own good way.
What do you think security looks like in 5, 10, 15 years? How does this space evolve?
I think we're going to see that the situation is going to get worse before it's going to get better. And in 15 years from time, we're going to be consumed by electronics around us. We're going to be in a life that is portrayed in some cases by the earlier movies that we have seen. And I think it's quite accurate depiction of sci-fi that we've seen how technology will immerse us. Everything we do, everything we will do will be mapped. Wherever you go, there will be cameras following you. Traffic lights can record you as your motor cars go through. And the sense of us living in the urban areas where everything is captured, people have to get used to that. From a security perspective, a lot of people are getting on the bandwagon to do exactly about security and encryption. But the world has to come together and say it is not just always about the security. It's how we treat customers' information, how we treat it. And I'm deeply concerned that in 15 years' time, when there's so much information about us out there, that it's going to be a very different playing field of information of certain things. I mean, I may, or not myself, but someone might choose to run for office in 15 years from today. To find something that you did, do you judge a person when he was a student at a spring break party 30 years ago for doing stupid things, and he's running for office 20 years later? Do you judge him for that? At which stage do we say, when I was a teenager, I did that, and when I'm a professional adult, I'm doing something else? These are the worries that I foresee is going to happen in the years to come, because our digital past is here to stay with us forever.
What about from a corporate perspective? I mean, you're addressing the individual, but what risks do corporations take on?
Corporates actually face a bigger risk than individuals, because in the world of competitive business, there is so much to lose for businesses, particularly those that trade internationally. And if you have the corporate America that deal around the world, in tenders and in business deals, information is sometimes seconds apart. We've seen reports of the millisecond trading in Wall Street, where he who has a bit more information than the other person can make millions within seconds by trading on Wall Street. Now, depending on how information is listed, depending on how information is communicated from one source to another, that could make or break a company very easily. And the problem with information is that when theft occurs, you don't know about it until it's actually used against you or you physically see it. If someone comes into your house or into your business and physically steal an item, you can see it's gone and you know about it. But information is cloned or copied, and then so you don't know it's done or it's gone. And that itself is a problem that companies and enterprises face. The second part about cybercrime and privacy invasion in businesses is the fact that because information is not always detected when it's stolen, or if it's detected it's stolen, it could be easily hidden by those who are being hired to protect the information of the corporation. Because it's not physically gone, I can say, well, let's just delete the logs and nothing happened. And this is the tip of the iceberg situation that we face, that only 1% or even less than 1% of cyber crimes that we know of is reported. And so from an enterprise perspective, privacy cannot be achieved without security. And if you don't have security in place, your business will be in danger.
Mornay Walters, I want to thank you for coming on today. His company is Seecrypt. You can get this encryption software in both the iTunes and Android stores, I assume?
That's correct. We have a new version on the Google Play Store that is known as SC3. And next week you will see the new release version on the iTunes Store. It will also be available for the BlackBerry 10 and the Windows mobile phones. Currently for the folks out there with iPhones, you will only see the old version. We are in the process of listing with Apple, so we ask your patience if you see it. If you would like, if I may,
sure,
Ari, if I may, for those of the folks who would like to get access to the new version, please send us an email at hello@seecrypt.com, and we will immediately let you know when it's on the store. It's taken us a year to rebuild it from the ground up. A lot of customers have come to us and say, please, we like this feature, we like this feature, we like this feature. And in security, you can't always have a bulletproof, ugly tank. We sometimes want to have a luxurious and an easy-to-use application. And I believe that is what we achieved. We made something that is easy to install, easy to be used. It works just like the other social media applications that's out there, but it's enterprise-ready and is designed with security from the ground up from day one.
Mornay Walters, thank you for joining us today. The company is Seecrypt, and we'll be back after these words.